things that I would consider as English as a Jewish language is the way we use the language. And this is something that I will give an example of, and my favorite example of this is a movie that came out about 10 or 12 years ago called Trembling Before God. This was a movie about gay and lesbian Jews in Orthodox communities, and it's a good movie worth seeing for a lot of reasons. But this movie has there's interviews in Hebrew and Yiddish and in English. And as I was watching this movie, I noticed that they were subtitling everything, including the interviews in English. And first I thought this was like for the hearing impaired. And then I realized that it was because in these conversations with American Jews who were speaking English, their English was so infused with Hebrew terms that it would not be reasonable to expect a mainstream American movie-going audience to understand this. And I went to see this movie with an Israeli friend, and she came out of this movie, she was laughing about it, and she was like, I love the way American Jews speak Hebrew. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because there were no American Jews speaking Hebrew in this movie. And she just says, who ever heard of the word halachically? And I just thought, like, well, I mean, I've heard of the word halachically, right? It would never occur to me to call this Hebrew, right? And you know, and I will say that we have a distinguished panelist here who's going to speak in the next session, Sarah Ben-Or, who has devoted all of her academic work, maybe not all, but she's devoted a lot of her academic work to this question of Jewish languages. And when Ilan made the comment about sort of Jewish linguistic distinctiveness, and you made the comment of there being 30 Jewish languages, I actually learned this from one of Sarah's lectures that I've listened to online. Was that she talks about something more like a Jewish language continuum, because she says if you look at a language like Judeo-Malayam or something like that, and you compare it to like just a conversation at a synagogue board meeting among English-speaking American Jews, there isn't that much difference in terms of the linguistic distinctiveness of Judeo-Malayam versus Malayam, and these are languages I know nothing about, versus the English spoken at a board meeting where they're talking about something involving buying a new Torah scroll, and the sofer that they're going to use and what kind of yod they're going to buy, and and those it's the same number of terms that are different from that are distinctive, and the same. It's sort of, I found this very revelatory because I feel like it sort of opened up my eyes to this idea of what does it mean to be a Jewish language? It's possible that our idea of what is a Jewish language may be narrower than we think it is. And our perspective on what it means to be multilingual, our perspective might be more rigid than it should be.